Hi vinyl community, it's Michael back again with another video. This video I'm going to talk about punk rock, specifically the 70s era. The first batch of records I'm going to show you are the US version of the punk scene, and then the second batch will be the UK. And these are all bands that started out in the 70s. So first up, the first band to play at CBGB's in New York City was Television, and this is Marquee Moon. It's a magnificent album, a stunning debut. And this is a white label promo that I got when I worked at a record store in the 70s. But it's such a great album. Everybody knows that album. It's a classic. But the next band to play CBGB's and also did double bills with Television was Patti Smith. And this is her debut album, Horses. Came out in 1975. This is another classic album of the punk era. It's so good. Her version of Gloria just blows me away every time I hear it. It's just a fantastic album. Next, the Ramones. This is their third album, Rocket to Russia, from 1977. This is classic Ramones all the way. This is probably of their first three albums. This is the best one, I'd say. It's a great album. From start to finish. Just love it. Another band to play CBGB's early on, Blondie. This is Blondie's first album. This is a reissue on Chrysalis Records. It's from 1976. Also, a lot of fun to listen to this band. They were kind of cartoonish, had the sci-fi lyrics and the pop melodies, just made for a great listen. Now this band, not really talked about too much, but they were an essential part of the punk scene in New York, and that's the Dictators. This is the Dictators Go Girl Crazy, their first album on Epic Records. This came out in '75, and a lot of this sounds like what the Ramones would sound like a year later. The simple melodies, the crazy lyrics about trash culture. They were pretty much doing what the Ramones would be doing, but they did it a little bit sooner. But this is a great album to listen to. Lots of fun, funny, humorous, and punky. The next album, Talking Heads, '77. This is their first album. It's a great debut. Psycho Killer is such a good song. It's a great album, and they went on to make some fantastic albums after this. Everybody knows Talking Heads. They're a vinyl community favorite. Next band, this is the Dead Boys. They're originally from Cleveland, and they were called Frankenstein, and they were like a glam rock band when they were still in Cleveland. So sometime in '76 they moved to New York, changed their name to the Dead Boys, and the rest is history. But this is a great punk album, hard and heavy, just what you expect from the Dead Boys. And then I also have This is a rough mix version of Young, Loud, and Snotty. This is on Bomp Records. This came out sometime in the '80s, and it's not bad. It's a good version. So if you want to compare them, you get this and listen to the first album and compare the difference. It's not too significant, but it's an interesting listen. Another band from CBGB's era, this is Suicide. Their first album, This is Martin Rev and Alan Vega, a duo who, what can I say, they're electronic, they're punky, they're just a great listen. Kind of hard to get into at first, but once you do, the music's there and it's really good if you want to check this one out. After that, this is Richard Hell and the Voidoids, Blank Generation. And there's Mark Bell, who later went on to be in the Ramones as Marky Ramone. Richard Hell was also in, this is a great album by the way, Richard Hell was also in an early version of the Heartbreakers with Johnny Thunders and Jerry Nolan from the New York Dolls. This is a collection of live recordings of the early days of Heartbreakers from like 1975 or so. Then they finally did release. Richard Hell quit the band and he started the Voidoids, and Johnny Thunders and Jerry Nolan went to New York, or I'm sorry, went to London and joined the Sex Pistols on their tour, and they became more popular in the London area than they did in New York. But this is their album, LAMF. This is a reissue from the 80s. This is really good, hard punk rock. It's just a great listen. If you're into punk and Johnny Thunders guitar work, this is a great album to listen to. It's another band that came from Cleveland, another punk band that came from Cleveland. This is the Pagans. Although the Pagans stayed in Cleveland, they didn't really go anywhere, but they've become like a cult band to punk rock fans. These guys were pretty young. They were teenagers when they first started, and they've released a lot of really good singles and records over the years. So if you don't know about the Pagans, check them out. Okay, that did it for the US version. Now we're going to move on to the British version. And of course, you can't do that without showing the Sex Pistols. This is a legitimate reissue of a bootleg called Spunk. It's a rough mix of the songs that would later turn up on Nevermind the Bullock. This is great. This sounds so good. It's raw and not as polished as Nevermind the Bullocks, but that's what makes it good. You can hear the energy that they were putting forth while recording this. It's a great listen. The next British band, well known in the VC, The Clash. This is their first album. It's the US pressing on Epic Records. It's another great, quick, hard, fast, Clash City Rockers, I'm So Bored with USA, Complete Control, White Riot. Just great, great punk songs. Really defined the punk movement of the 70s. Also, one of my favorite bands of the British punk scene, the Buzzcocks. This is Singles Going Steady. This is a collection of their singles they released between 76 and 78. Just great stuff. Very poppy, melodic. I would say this band was a big inspiration to Green Day and most of the bands that became punk pop, as we called them. But this is so good. If you don't know the Buzzcocks, check them out. They're great. And this band, this was the first British punk band to release an album. This is The Damned. Their first album, Damned, Damned, Damned. It's got some great songs on it. The opening cut On side 2, New Rose is just a fantastic song. I just love it. The Damned went on to make some other great albums too, but this is their first album. Had a great impact on the punk scene in England. Next up, The Jam. This is their second album. This is The Modern World. It's a reissue from 2014, I think. Very inspired by the early Who and the mod scene, but they somehow fit it all into the punk scene in Cleveland and one of the major punk bands of that era. Next, this is Wire, their first album, Pink Flag. This is so good, so great. I can listen to this song, this album forever. It's just so good. Catchy melodies, short, fast songs, and it was so unlike everything else that was going on at the time. But just a great listen. Then we have Susie and the Banshees. This is actually their second album, Join Hands. This one's they just kind of threw it together. I think they were in, they needed time, or they didn't have enough time to write enough songs, so they just kind of threw what they had together. And it's okay, but their other albums are so much better than this. So if you're a big Susie fan, you probably know about this album anyway. Another another British band, I fucked that one up, the Vibrators. This is their first album from 1977. This is great, poppy punk. It's a White Label promo, another one. Baby Baby is great. This whole album, what can you say about it? It's fun to listen to. If you are interested in punk rock and you haven't heard the Vibrators, check this one out. It's really good. Next, this is Magazine, Real Life, their first album. This includes Howard Devoto right there, who left the Buzzcocks to form this band. These guys are really arty, kind of, this would probably be better suited to be what's known as post-punk. It's really stark, almost gothic-like at times, but it's just really good listening. One of the better albums to come out of that era. And finally, this really isn't a British band, but they're Australian. This is The Saints with their first album, I'm Stranded. Just great sounds on this album from start to finish. The song I'm Stranded is a classic punk song of the era. And what more can I say? It's just a great album. So that's it for punk, my punk rock collection of the 70s. I'm thinking of doing a part 2 going into the 80s, but we'll see how that goes. Before I go, though, I would like to give out some shout outs to some people. Rachel the Music Man, David Newton at Unsightly Vinyl, Swell's Head Network, Richard McCook, Two from the Trunk, and Speaker's Corner with Jeff. All these people just subscribe to my channel, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you for doing so. All these people, check out their channels. They have great content, and they're all just great members of the vinyl community. So That's it for now. Hope to see you soon. Take care, and we'll talk to you later.